First of all, I would like to welcome all of you and express my special solidarity and pity for those of you who are on the other side of the table, because they're where the sun is. And actually, I have to tell you that I kind of guessed it would happen. I told 5 hours ago to move this meeting to some more shadowy place, and then they said the NATO security rules absolutely prohibit it. So under NATO security, you have to be under the sun and just accept it as it is. You know, just that's the part of your profession, I guess. I hope they pay you more for that. In any case, I would like to. We just had very interesting, serious, and productive meeting with Secretary General. Again, we would like to welcome NAC here in Georgia. For countries like Georgia, you know that it's a historic event, and that's how our people perceive it. That's how it is really the event that attracts attention of our nation, for, not only today, but for these weeks precluding the event, and I think it will stay after you leave. And that's why the importance of your visit cannot be overestimated. The North Atlantic Council has come at a very crucial moment of our history in the recent years. Especially, I recall the visit of NAC immediately in the aftermath of Russian invasion of 2008. This was such a great sign of support, solidarity, standing by the freedom and independence and territorial integrity of my people. And it has made a huge difference at that time, those times of huge peril. Each NAC visit sends a very strong message both to the Georgian people and to the countries around. It sends the message that NATO stands by our nation, that our people are not alone, that the old logic of spheres of influence and some countries staying in from the cold and some being out of the cold no longer applies to the modern 21st century world. And that our integration in NATO is irreversible, as proclaimed in Bucharest in 2008, and it's going on. I want to thank especially the Secretary General Rasmussen for his permanent support of Georgia's sovereignty, territorial integrity, aspirations of our people. Your repeated statements on all these issues, Mr. Secretary General, had and are still having a great impact, and I want to thank you personally for this. NATO integration is the clear, well-expressed wish of the Georgian people. It goes beyond political parties, political interests, beyond ethnic or religious groups, and is not owned by any leader. It is both the absolute foreign policy priority of Georgia and the result, as well as one of the main driving forces of our reforms at home, of the edification and the protection of our democracy. As you know, the governments can change, but NATO remains a priority because the people want it, and no government can do anything against this well-expressed desire of the people. NATO remains a priority, and our participation in the ISAF remains a high priority. I think it has significant value not only to the overall international security, for the overall international security, but it's also our own contribution to our own future, to Georgia's role in wider international coalitions that had historically built the case for many ages, but also for specifically to the future of Georgia, and also to forming our armed forces. Our soldiers are making ultimate sacrifice, as we have seen in the recent weeks, and I want to speak on the behalf of the whole nation and tell you how proud we are of their bravery and their behavior, and how deep our sorrow is for the loss of life, as well as of loss of life of all other participants of ISAF operation from your respective countries. Mr. Secretary General, Ambassadors, NATO membership is the goal of the whole Georgian nation. It will take time, we know it, but we will be a full member of this alliance of free and democratic nations. And for this goal to become reality, we have to develop and protect our democracy. Protecting our democracy means also protecting the right of political opposition and of all minorities. Recent events in Georgia have put these rights at risk, to say the least. As I'm speaking, the Secretary General of the main opposition party, the UNM, Ivan Merabishvili, is sitting in jail even before he is judged on any specific crime. This is a very abnormal situation in democracy, as well as the events of this morning and many others are abnormal. I hope that the governments will not pursue on this path, because it would endanger our democracy, our goals, it would endanger our security and our transatlantic future, and that's the last thing we would want. That's the last thing I would want, because I personally contribute a lot to strengthening these aspirations and bringing, and also for NATO to take Georgia seriously, not just Georgians taking NATO much more seriously, and that's both things have happened. There are many things that remain to be done in our country, and I seriously doubt that the priority should be a charge and arrest and jail of political leaders. Priority should be strengthening of our institutions, our economy, our security, and I'm sure we can count on you for this, because you are the main allies of our nation, the family we aspire to join, the family we will, I'm convinced, and this has been will always be the main driving force of my political life. The family we will one day join, definitely. That's why we should stand above political lines or divisions. In this country, we should jointly work on these aspirations. We should find common language with each other. We should try to create a situation when things are decided through democratic process, through civilized means of dialogue, rather than any other unacceptable methods. And I hope, I still count that my nation has enough political resource and force to basically create and maintain such climate between different political forces. Thank you once again also for helping and contributing to this path. Thank you again.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, earlier today and yesterday we had the pleasure to meet with Georgian leaders from all walks of life, government and parliamentary leaders, civil society leaders, representatives of non-governmental organizations, the media, and minority communities. They showed us that Georgia shares the democratic values of the Euro-Atlantic community of nations, and that Georgia is committed to the path to NATO membership. So it's only fitting that our final meeting on this visit to Georgia is with you, Mr. President, a leader who has been an ardent supporter of Georgia's advance towards Euro-Atlantic integration. Mr. President, I know that you are a great admirer of the medieval Georgian king, David the Builder. In October, Georgia will hold presidential elections. After those elections, you will hand over power. And when you do, you yourself, your successor, and the Prime Minister will all be remembered as builders of Georgian democracy. Until that moment, it is crucial that Georgia's leaders make cohabitation work for the benefit of the Georgian people. I look to you, Mr. President, to further contribute to that process, to help pushing ahead with reforms, further strengthening justice and rule of law, and ensuring an inclusive social and political life. After this meeting, Commission members will attend a ceremony for Georgian military personnel who are deploying to Afghanistan. And that event, too, will be fitting. Georgia has borne a heavy burden in Afghanistan, and it has paid a heavy price. We express our most profound sympathies, Mr. President, to the families of Georgian servicemen who have been killed or injured, especially in the tragic incidents of recent weeks. Georgia's commitment to peaceful conflict resolution also speaks for its role as a security provider. We welcome Georgia's unilateral step towards Russia and hope such steps will be reciprocated. NATO remains committed to Georgia's territorial integrity and sovereignty within its internationally recognized borders, and our non-recognition policy remains unchanged. Georgia's contributions to our shared security are a powerful demonstration of our shared values. It is one more reason why Georgia belongs in the Euro-Atlantic community. Thank you, and I would now like to thank the press for joining us.